Hi, my name is Devin Walls, artist from Chester, Pennsylvania. A part of a peer exchange, came to Chicago and Gary, Indiana to see the work that other artists were doing around the country, and we came out with some of the members of our team so they can get the experience and so we could gain some knowledge on how some of the artists out here were doing development so we could take it back home and develop our own city.
I was excited to go on the trip because I wanted to see what innovative ways that Gary, Indiana and Chicago were implementing the arts and cultural districts into their communities.
First day of the trip, I thought it was interesting. I enjoyed being able to interact with different representatives from Illinois Humanity Council.
Had to go to a reception and meet an artist that was doing work in Chicago by the name of John Tichy, and we went to a studio where we had a nice dinner reception. We met him and he showed us some of the things that he was working on here, and he expressed to us how he would use some of these things to help build and organize builds inside of the city.
As an artist, I think I'm responding, right? And many times I feel like I'm responding to where I am, to the communities that I interact with, that I'm part of. I mean, I'm not trying to think about it as art or activism, education. For me, it all comes together, though I understand that not everybody can see it like this.
Taking something that's been deteriorated for a long period of time to try to get it to possibly look like something and turn into something. You're going to need arts, you're going to need the humanities, you're going to just need cooperative economics throughout that make something out of nothing.
So for me, it wasn't necessarily about the components of visiting Chicago and being at Manna Contemporary. It was more about engaging with everyone that will potentially have something to do with the project and being able to understand their positions and everyone understanding that we're all accountable for a certain level of work in this project.
I really wanted to see exactly what was happening in Gary, more so than what was going on in Chicago, because I felt like Gary was a city similar to the same, or going through the same sort of things that Chester was going through.
I'm excited to hear the direction from the proposed listening sessions about where history fits for the artists and for the city residents, and how we can, for example, think about both exploring the history, the physical history of Chester in terms of the underground, this underground city, but also the experiential history of the city. What has it been like for people? And I've experienced a lot of that in those listening sessions.
I think going to Gary, Indiana was a wake-up call for so many of us, because we went into this trip thinking we had so much to learn from everyone else, and we did have so much to learn, but I don't think that we were thinking as much about how much we had to give in that learning experience.
I think Gary, Indiana affected me because it made me so sad. It made me extremely sad, man, to see a place in such ruins.
This city was the city of the century. People came all around the world to come and learn about schooling, but the city was segregated. And so part of the story about Emerson was that the students walked out because they didn't want to integrate the school. And so then you get Roosevelt High School being built for black students. Because you're asking, how did this happen, kind of thing. So the stories like white flight, people literally up and left. The realtors scared white people, black people are coming, so they sold their houses for a song and they left in the middle of the night. So we want to make sure that artists are on the conversations about making the city more viable. And so we're trying to figure out what are the other assets that we can tap into, that we can utilize, not just for tourists to come see, but you live here. Right. You could love this place. This place is amazing. I grew up here. I loved this place. I
feel that being there and seeing another city that's kind of similar to Chester, it gave me hope. It also put me in a place of empathy, knowing that although people have this perception of what Chester is, actually living here and being here, it's really not that bad.
So I think that providing people with the opportunity to tell their stories is what Humanities does really well, right? That's exactly what they do. So it's like, here's the space, this is the idea. Again, people already have their ideas. They may not have the capacity, this right here, to sit and do.
What kept coming up on the trip was about how you cross-pollinate politics, business, arts and culture, as well as just the community as a whole. I think that's very important when you're looking at a movement, and that's what we have here in Chester, is a movement.
I think the restaurant, we went to Mama Pearl's Kitchen, which is connected to a project space that Theaster is working on out in Gary, Indiana. And I like the way he supports Mama Pearl's Kitchen, at least the way he talked about it. And it's just being able to stimulate your own economy by spending with the businesses that are local to you and keeping that money in your circle a lot longer, which helps the overall goal of building economics in your city.
For us all, as we're trying to do this work, just finding ways to support support with our resources the people who are already doing the work, and then to kind of expand their dream and kind of allow those things to incorporate into this New Jack thing, because it's like we will not create this kind of fried chicken joint, this kind of soul food joint, and it actually does feel like it's like the heart and soul of Gary. It's way more sincere in terms of a thing, and it's like all we got to do is then get behind Joni and Ho.
After we had seen Chicago and we'd seen Gary, Indiana, we knew that Chester had the assets right here, and we had the relationships that many other communities don't already have in place in order to really move this forward.
In order for the movement to be successful, everyone has to cohabitate, everyone has to cross-pollinate and work together for one common goal. So I think that's probably the most important thing in a movement is having everyone on the same page, moving with the same mindset and the same goal.
You know, the part about development stuff in Chicago is, I just feel like we more community than they were. Like, we're seriously a community. Like, I know every last one of these store owners on this block, and I'm right here every day, and I show up every day. And so does my partner. So, I'm into, we want to talk about community and development. I think nobody's spot is hotter than Ron Starr, Dev. We are, you know what I mean? And we all on the same block.
But what I mostly got out of it, I got the chance to see that what we're doing is special. We do have a community of people that does work with each other. It's not going to be any city that we can go in and we can do some of the things that we're doing here. We're revitalizing a whole city through just the heartbeat of the city, which is this street, Avenue of the States. I think it was beneficial for everybody to see it because it gave everybody the energy that they needed to come back home and start building. I think that with us all seeing everything all together at one time, you can get the energies from different people and see that a lot of them came back energized and ready to roll.
Everything's gonna come in due time, bro. Believe me. I talk to the people, and I see the people that showing up, and I see the people showing a concern and positioning themselves here. It looks good. It still looks bad, but it looks good. It looks like growth. It looks like something is happening, and the people see it clearly, bro. Whether they intimidated or want to be down, it's something happening.